Okay. All right, Regex, we've got a couple things I'm going to go over on that. We do have slideshow here I'm going to go over first. We have two of our class members, we actually have 4 people now taking this online. We're supposed to have 3 in here face-to-face, so I'm glad you guys are here. All right, let's zoom this in. There we go, much better. Okay, so often in PHP we have to get data into files or from files, and we'd have user fill out forms, whether it be social security numbers, phone numbers, whatever. Before they fill that information out, we need to make sure before it's submitted that it's in the correct format. And one of the fields would be like an email field, phone number, social security number, just to name a few, that you need to make sure they're validated prior to going on further. To achieve this, we're going to look at PHP function that checks values and manipulates data. The input PHP function, and then the Regex function expression. So far we've done a little bit on PHP functions, on validation of content to make sure something's there, but this goes further into actual making sure that the syntax is as it should be before it comes into a database. A lot of useful PHP functions to manipulate data, like string, C-type, date time. These are just some links on our PDF for this week's reading you can go over. The first one it goes over is splitting data. So often we might need to split data into multiple pieces on a particular character. So if we want to explode a data, let's say for instance on the slash for the input there, we would basically take that input 1/12/2007, explode it with a slash. Input is the argument for the character you're going to explode it on is the first argument. Second argument is a string or the variable, and then it plugs it here into bits and explodes it into an explode array basically. 0 would be 1, 1 would be 12, 2 would be 2007 on array allocation. Removing excess white space, this is popular too. People might mistakenly hit the space bar on a field and then type in something and space bar some more. We don't want that empty data going into a SQL field or SQL database. So an easy one is to trim the white space with this statement here. Yes?
For trim, does that work between characters as well? So
no, only on the end, both ends, not in between. Okay. Right, correct. And so this would only work on both left and right of the string, but nothing in between. So once the characters start, this does not apply, just on the left and right, before and after the string starts and stops. String replace is another one that's used a lot to replace data that might be just a search in a string to replace stuff. Here's an example of input 01.12-2007, replacing the dot operator and the slash operator with the forward slash operator, or the backward slash operator. So in order to do that, you'll notice dot and slash all is in one array. The array is the actual delimiter that we're going to replace with the slash. And so you can put anything else in there too. You could do dot, slash, question mark, whatever else you can think of, asterisk, whatever else users put in there that they could mistakenly put in there. Personally, one of the ways I like to do dates on forms anyway, and you guys have seen this probably, is like on a form site where you type in a number, say it's a date, or maybe an example might be we'll use date. The first box only accepts 0, 1 to 12, and that's it. and then as soon as you type it in, whatever that second character is, it goes ahead and goes to the second box, which would be the, the day box. And again, that would be, can be from 1 to say 31. And then once you type in that, if you type in up to the second character, if it's a 1 character date, it wouldn't force it automatically, but if it's a 2 character date, it would force it to the third box. And that also just helps some people entering stuff, makes it quicker. But we've all seen forms where we have to do it like this. We have to enter in, they tell us to enter in the date, and they tell us kind of an example of what they want format-wise. And if you're going to do that, that's fine. Just make sure you do give an example to the right of the field, what it is that you want that field to look like. And so if it's a date field, you make sure that you have on the form, over here an example of what you're looking for, on the right side of it. So they just kind of see what the example would be that you're looking for in the field. That you just don't want to have nothing there for them to guess, which we've filled out forms like that before too, I'm sure. The other one is a function that's useful as a case function to make all strings uppercase, all strings lowercase. I use this a lot for passwords or usernames or both. And what I mean by that is if you're security is one of the big things that I deal with a lot of security apps, and so it reads a database, PHP database, MySQL, brings in all the users, and then say this app, this PHP app has a function that runs when they first hit the site, and the function's called security. We'll say the function's called security. It goes through and reads all the username information from the tables, right? And it's supposed to be in uppercase or lowercase, but sometimes people, meaning users that are entering this data in, enter it in incorrectly in the database when they're entering in data. And so when you're checking code, it's easy to just convert any string that's coming in to a 2 lower, and then check it with a conversion to 2 lower as well. And what I mean by that is, in the example I just mentioned, if a user enters in their username and you're matching it to a SQL database field, I use the 2 lower both on the SQL database check and the 2 lower on the input from the user on the form, and compare it that way. There's other checks you can do, but that's the simplest way to do it because you're actually converting both the user input and the data input that you're checking and looping through to make sure that username matches. So by doing a 2 lower, regardless what the database has, regardless what the user types in, it's going to match it. Because when you're doing an equal sign, an equal to sign on a PHP if statement, it needs to match case-wise as well, for sure, when it comes to passwords specifically. And so a lot of times I use the 2 lower or 2 upper, either one, for the username for sure. And then passwords, a lot of times they can be uppercase or lowercase, so you wouldn't want to do it on that. So the other one is to make, so you have 2 upper, 2 lower. To make the first letter uppercase, UC first. To make the first letter of each word in a string uppercase, UC words in parentheses. And it's going to make each word, the first letter of each word, an uppercase. So here's some examples of sanitizing text. So one of the ways to thwart against from SQL injection on a website is to make strings safe as an output. HTML entities is something you could use. So if the user enters this in a string and say we could say that as I don't know, they put this in a username field for a database, which you shouldn't do that. But say they're putting an injection string in there, right, of code, and they're putting HTML code in there and maybe some MySQL statements in there. What's going to happen here when you do the clean HTML entities, it's going to clean that up, and notice here it's going to basically take it and spread out those tags now to where it's not HTML tag, it's actually a safe output. Now it will save that as such though in the table, but at least it won't be, if you're familiar with SQL commands, this is where they use it in a book and then online examples a lot of times HTML code. But really for HTML entities, this one's not going to be too much problems actually. A lot of times you might see problems on HTML entities with semicolons or colons, I'm guessing. Yeah, colons would definitely be one. Sometimes cause problems. But this one is there for you to use for just making sure the input doesn't have any tags in there. If it does, it'll actually make it look like this, make it user-friendly for the data, so it won't blow anything up. More complicated checks that are built in is reg expressions we're going to go over now. Reg expressions is a concise way of pattern matching within a string. They look really ugly, you'll see tonight, but they're already done for us. There's multiple sources you can find regex strings or anything you want. There's websites you can go to and say, okay, this is a format of what I need, make a regex, and it'll do it for you. Okay, and those you'll see some sites we can go. You can go to and bookmark that I recommend that you can that'll help you. And so basically, it's just a way to filter input to make sure the user enters in the correct data prior to saving it to a database, and that's crucial because if the database needs this data, which a lot of them do in certain formats, like date, for instance, definitely needs to be in a certain format on SQL. If it's a unique field, you want that in a unique, you want that definitely correct. Social security numbers, any numeric information that you want. Generally, it's going to need a regex email, making sure it's a correct email address as far as formatting goes. So the first example is an email. That's a common one that we learn how to regex first in PHP. So we have here rob.example.com. Actual data we're going to work on is an email address string. There is the regex string right there from comma to comma, apostrophe to apostrophe. And so you know you've got in there a number of things you can probably recognize just by seeing it, by looking at it. The first character I want you to look for is the @ symbol. You can see the @ symbol in there. The second symbol I want you to look for after the @ symbol is a dot character. You can see that. Okay, so if we just take that @ symbol and then the dot character, we can kind of make sense a little bit of what's going on here. Okay, we're saying on the first part here that it can be anything A to Z, uppercase or lowercase. Okay, it can also be alphanumeric, and it can have symbols in there as well, up to the @ symbol. The plus symbol on a regex is kind of like a concatenating string. After the @ symbol, it can also be uppercase, lowercase, A to Z. Then you've got a dot operator, then another plus for concatenating, and this one has to be up to 2 minimum, 6 maximum, A to Z for the extension, basically, is in roughly what that's doing. So a PHP function here is called regex, and again there's generators that'll do it for you, so you don't have to memorize how to do all that and what that all means, uppercase and lowercase and ranges, but we'll go over it here in just a second here in more detail. It is complicated, you know, looking at it. There's definition of a pattern. I went over a little bit some of the pattern there. Usually is used to validate or extract data from a string. So there's some delimiters that regex has. It's common to all regex delimiters. The first is the slash symbol there. Regex slash PHP slash separated by apostrophes on both ends. If we were regex that right there, that was our regex key. Matches would be PHP. Matches could also be I love PHP. Doesn't match PHP in caps because in this case it has to be that exact syntax and case everything. Okay. So PHP would match in caps and I love PH would match because PHP all has to be together in lowercase. Make sense? And so that's basically a strict delimiter, strictly defining a string that you want and case sensitive in this example. We'll look at some more here. So first expressions of regex is know how the regular expressions matches anywhere in the string. The whole regular expression has to be matched, but the whole data string doesn't have to be used. It is case sensitive on that example I just showed you. Case insensitive uses the I switch. Okay, so it's the same exact thing we did before, but we're putting an I on the end. Now you'll notice PHP lowercase matches, I love PHP with H caps, and then PHP all caps matches, but doesn't match still as I love PH, because it does still have to still be an entire word or words or letters that you're regexing together. Whatever's in between the slashes basically is what has to be in the text, but this one with the I switch allows it to be case insensitive. Character groups. Regex is matched character by character. You can specify multiple options for a character by using brackets. So regex here is /p, hu, and brackets, p/. So let's look at some matches. PHP could be a match. PUP could be a match. PHUP does not match. POP does not match. And PHP does not match. Okay? Again, it specifies the option for one of those characters within the H or U. That's why the PHU does not work. It can only be one of those in that bracket for that to work. Now, if we wanted to expand it a little bit and put a range, we wanted to specify a digit or alphabetical range, alphanumerical possibly. So we have here P, A to Z, 1 to 3. Can be shoved in lowercase p and p. Now again, this is case sensitive, not insensitive on this one. So PHP would work, PUP would work, PAP, POP, P3P, PHP would work because it's all caps, and P5P would work because it's not in the range of the numbers and not in the range of the A to Z. Make sense? And so that's a character group regex. So some predefined classes within regex, there's a number of them. These are some of the most common. Is /D would be matches a single character that has a digit 0 to 9. Matches any white space includes tabs and breaks. /S, /W matches any word character, alphanumeric characters plus underscore. So predefined classes, we have here P and then DP. If we go back one, right there. /P, and then notice this one right here, this character right there. If we go back one, go back a little bit lower. Yeah, there you go. So matches on that one. P3P, P7P would match. Doesn't match P10, P7, because this goes from 0 to 9. And regex WP, P3P, PHP, POP, PHHP would not work. Because it only connect one character in between the P and P. We'll work on that one. So these predefined ones help speed it up a little bit more. The dot in regex matches anything apart from the line breaks. So P dot P, PHP would work, PNP, P left parentheses P, P3P, P $P, PHP would not work, PHHP would not work. All right? Because again, this one's a special dot character matches anything apart from line breaks. This is all caps, that's why it won't work. This one has too many characters in between the two. You can only have one. Okay, repetition. There's a number of special characters that indicate character group may be repeated. Question mark is 0 or 1 time. 0, the asterisk is 0 or more times, plus 1 or more times, and then A, comma B between A and B times. How many times you're going to have in there for that. So here we have repetition, PH question mark B. If we go back 1, the question mark is 0 or 1 times. So this one, PP, that'll work. PHP, that'll work. PHHP does not work. Remember, it's 0 or 1. PAP will not work because A is not available in there. regex PH times P, or the asterisk P. On the asterisk, it's 0 or more times. And so PP would work, PHP would work, PHHHHP will work, POP will not work, it's not in the range, and then PHOHOP will not work, HHOP will not work. PH plus P, and if we go back to look at our rule on that one, on the plus, it's 1 or more times. 1 or more times on that one, it has to show up. PHP will work, PHHHHP will work, PP will not work because it has to be at least 1 or more. PHYHP will not work because the Y is not included. Regex range here now, PH 1, 3, and if you remember on that one on the range, going back between whatever and whatever, so it's between 1 and 3 times it can be. So here we have PH 1 and 3. PHP will work. PHHHP, that's 3. This one will not work because it's 4. And this one here will not work because there's not even 1, just PP. Bracketed repetition. The repetition operators can be used to bracket expressions to repeat multiple characters. So if you have PHP and parentheses plus and then end, you can have PHP, 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 and then 3 PHPs in a row. What would match is PH, POP, PH, because it doesn't have at least one iteration. Will it match PHP, PH? What do you think? If it has to have, remember on repetitive, it has to have at least 1. At least has all 1 iteration of that.
So no.
Shouldn't match. No, shouldn't match. Regex anchors, so far we've matched anywhere within a string, either the entire part. We can now change this behavior by using anchors. You guys might be familiar with anchors in HTML. A lot of people don't use it anymore, but you know where you can put anchors in your headers, like for linking things on a navigation table, where you can click on whatever, go right to that anchor. So same thing here. We can put anchors within PHP. This is actually the start of a string. That symbol there. And then the $ would be the end of a string. So with no anchors, PHP is great, and PHP POP would not work. This is no anchors, going back to the very beginning actually. Now, with start and end anchors, okay, starting and ending, matches PHP. What wouldn't match is PHP is great and PHP and POP. Because again, it has to match the start and end of that regex. And that's the whole purpose of it, is to start and end that anchor. Escape characters, we've seen characters such as question mark, $, asterisk, plus have a special meaning. If we want to actually use them in a literal sense, we need to put an escape bracket with a backslash. So here's your /p /p /. Okay, so this is going to be our one that we're watching here actually. So we want to include the dot, we have to do that, put the backslash before it. Just like in other things in PHP, if we're wanting to, say, put a quote within a quote, we have to do the same thing here as we're doing here. We're just using a period. So this will work, this will not work, and this will not work because it's not part of the range. So an example, let's define a regex that matches an email. We're going to do here in just a second. We have rob.example.com, rob.subdomain.example.com, a_n_other at example.co.uk, and then what it wouldn't match though would be that one there, rob.exam.ple.com, which somebody could type in mistakenly, and then not an email, not dat and email.com would not match that. And just going over what we went over tonight so far with regex, you can delimitate a little bit from this. Let me just highlight some stuff. I don't want to go into detail. What's this right here mean? What I'm highlighting here. What would this be right here, what I'm highlighting? What would this give us?
Just those two?
Yeah, just those two. Let's just highlight those two. And then what about this one here? Remember what this one is here? The D/D. Remember what that one is? Remember it has to do with, well, think of D as not alpha, but numeric, and it's 0 to 9 is what D is. Okay. And then you've got, this here allows us to use the dot operator by having this here. All right. And actually, the whole bracket for what I just went over would be right here. That'd be the whole delimiter. Actually, I'm sorry, right here would be it. Right there would be it. Okay. And then we have the concatenating string here. So it can be alphanumeric A to Z. It can be, and the numeric part has to be 0 to 9. It can also have in here, if we go to the dot underscore dash, it can have symbols in there. And then here's the @ symbol, literal. And then here's the second part after the @ symbol. I'll highlight it here, right there. Again, A to Z digits, dot operator. Then after the dot operator, A to Z, lowercase, for the domain part. It can be 2 minimum, max 6. So 2 to 6 in the range of domain, because you do have, .eus, .me's, right? I don't know if we have, I don't think we have one extension domains. I don't think we do. No, still 2. 2 and then, 6. And now granted, there might be some domains reaching into the 6 beyond that, but I know that would be safe. 2 to 6 would definitely be safe. For most all businesses. And then this one means what? This I. Remember what that one means? Remember what the I means on extensions or at the end of a regex? Let me go back there. Show you. Boom, 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 boom. Case insensitive. Case insensitive, anytime you see that, it's going to be the I at the end. Because emails can be case insensitive, for sure. They should be case insensitive. So here's a breakdown example. The delimiter starts start of string with the caret symbol. Then username allows any length of letters, numbers, dots, underscores, and dashes. So that part right there we went over. Then we've got the separator of the @ symbol. Then the next part, here to here, domain, letters, digits, dashes only. Repetition to include subdomains as well. And then the latter part of that plus symbol can be 2 to 6, A to Z, no numbers. And then the end anchor is the end delimiter, case insensitive for the entire thing. Phew. So regular expressions, definitely popular, definitely used a lot. There's a nice website here, though. This website actually brings a lot of information with as far as examples, data examples, things of that nature. I'll show you what it looks like real quick. There's other reg expression websites. This is just one of them. This is just a real good one as far as examples that you can find. Like you have a reg expressions quick start. On the quick start, it goes through some of the things we already went over on there. And then it even has at the ending of each one, learning more about character cases, jumps to other things, which is the next one, and the left side over here actually is character cases. But this goes over all the different types of regex you could think of, with examples and everything. And so if you go to the examples one, this will actually give you whole examples of popular regex used. So, grabbing HTML, trimming white space, IP address conversion, make sure it's correct on IP addresses, numeric ranges, matching an email address, give you examples on that. And again, they give you the entire string to use and the examples of how it would be used. It's code insensitive, meaning it works with all different types of code languages, not just PHP. And so this is a good source to look at, definitely, reg expressions. And the next one I want to look at, actually, besides that one, was the example we have here in the in-class exercise for week 7. It basically, I put in here a dummy email that doesn't have any @ symbol and no domain name at all. And go ahead and hit submit. It'll tell me it's an invalid. Now if I go ahead and put in here an @AOL.com, submit, it should be valid now. And this one's pretty simple code in week 7 source I just downloaded to go over here. You got here your form example, which is basic input form. The input type's text, named it email for the name, and a submit button, and it's posting to validate.php. In validate.php, we've seen this already in our validation, but let me just show you real quick. It's a long string, so I'll kind of go left to right. You've got your start character, uppercase, lowercase, and the reason this is put uppercase, lowercase, by the way, on this whole string, if you look at the end, there is no case insensitive trigger. And that would be a way to not do the uppercase, lowercase that's done here. You could just do an I at the very end, like the example I went over earlier. But this one doesn't have it, so we'll go ahead and let me go ahead and blow up this real quick with this. Maybe just make it a little bit bigger. Make it one full screen. Yeah, zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so the reason this has A to Z uppercase and lowercase is because there's no I in this regex string. Then 0 to 9 could also use a /D as well. And the plus symbol, concatenating it using the dot symbol here. A to Z uppercase or lowercase, 0 to 9 using an underscore dash. This also allows for, the star actually allows for the domain, subdomains that emails could have. Then after that, uppercase, lowercase, A to Z, 0 to 9, dash. And this goes over even more. Back up. Then finally at the end, for the domain, uppercase or lowercase, 2 to 6, and that's it. And it's going to post that to, or bring in the post email from the form and delimitate against that. Let me go back to the very beginning here. So if that preg, if it does not match, it's going to kick out invalid email address. Else, it's going to kick out valid email address on this actual screen itself for the post match. And so let me scroll this back down here so we can go back to the example. So going back to the actual example here on the site, getting rid of the domain.com, AOL.com. This is coming in the die example of the code, meaning it's going to catch on that true statement here, meaning it's not going to match, and it's going to kick out the die command for that page. It's going to keep it on that page. Then go by going back now and correcting it. It's going to validate it. All right, make sense? So it's validating with regex. Regex is the most popular delimiter to validate emails, validate other things you can think of within. You know, like the example I did go over, it could be like validating dates, validating phone numbers. In fact, they have. Let me see if I can. I don't have it bookmarked here. They have some regex. Generators, the one I want. This one's pretty cool. They have a lot of regex generators, but some of these are good, some of these not so good. Okay, so this regex generator, gskinner.com regex. In fact, if you just do a regex generator, it's a second or third link. Anyway, and here's where you actually are. Says an intuitive tool for learning, writing, testing regex expressions, real-time results show as you type. And so as you actually type in what you're wanting, it gives you a regex to fit that actual input. All right. And it's got a pretty simple screen here. Over here is the actual regex that it's using here. As you hover over each one of these, though, it actually gives you the meaning for each level of regex that you're hovering over, which is pretty cool. And you can filter in, replace. I can type in, say, 500 55-5555, my regex pattern. Close that. And let's see, it gives it down here at the bottom, the regex pattern, what flags it has, any groups it might be having on it. And get rid of that there. I'm going to put some more information down here. Let me put in something a little unique, like a part number or something. And I don't want match. There we go. That's what I'm going to replace there. This code here would give me that character that I want. I could also use this. That's one example. There's also some JavaScript ones too. It's one, maybe this Regex Magic's one I like. Can't remember. I think this is it here. Yeah, I think this is it right here. This is a built-in interface to go in, and actually some of these you actually download. Yeah, Regex Buddy, that's what I'm thinking of. Regex Buddy looks like this here. And you go in and tell what the input is here, and then what it'll do is it'll actually give you down here generated code that you can use for different languages. And so a lot of free tutorials, a lot of free examples. This actually goes back to the site we were at, actually, Regex Buddy was. Regex Buddy, Regex Magic is the other one. And these are both downloadable. You go to regexmagic.com. It's for Windows 98 to Windows 8. And this one does cost. But there's tons of free stuff. I wouldn't pay for any of this. You can get stuff online to do it all for you, as far as examples and everything. So it does take some tweaking, some depending. Emails are easy, websites are easy, phone numbers are easy. But like when you get to manufacturing, where I work at a lot, where you do part numbers, you can go in to do unique part number regexing for might be weird part numbers like 20 characters, alphanumeric, and has to start with a number, end with a character, stuff like that, as an example. But you can find all those tools online to regex those out. And then once you do know how it works, the way I recommend to do a regex is when you get stuck on something, is piecemeal or piecemeal that regex string and get it working for, say, half of it or 3/4 of it or 1/4 of it, and then just keep adding to that until you have it all working together, especially on larger regex available strings that you work on. So for the take home this week, there real quick. homework is basically you are going to this page here, and there's processing input, form input, adding 5 new fields of your choice and adding validation. There's needed files here that you'll need to download. Create a new folder on your site as always, week 7. Let me look at the example here for that one. So you're just going to basically add new fields and add your own validation for those fields. Here's the one here. If I click Add Employee without doing anything, it's going to take me to a page at the top and go give me things that are required in red that I have to actually go back in and fill in. So if I fill in one at a time just to show you. Okay, Chuck was submitted, but now it says last name needs in there, so on and so forth. The code for this one that you download has everything that you see there, but you're just going to add in some more files or more fields. So let me go to the actual code for this one. That you'll get this source code actually on that week. So it's got an index and a process employee.php. Let me close out of the one I don't want. I don't want that one. I want that one. I don't want this one. Okay. So that's the basic form, okay, basic HTML form for selecting all the data. On the process employee, pretty simple. Most of these are all post validation and confirming that the field has something in it, basically is all you're doing. First name has something in it. If it doesn't, it highlights and puts a span style in there telling the user to enter in that first name. Same with if it does satisfy it, it uses that information for first name on that form. Does these for all of them, all the first one anyway, first name, last name, title. Then we get into title of courtesy. That one actually is, let's go back, that's this one right here, which can be Dr., Mr., Mrs., or Miss. So that one uses an array to determine if it exists, if something has been selected. If it hasn't been selected, meaning none of those radio buttons have been selected, it'll get back a response. Address, just seeing there's something in it, nothing there big. City, same thing. Region, same thing. Postal code, same. Maybe you could do a regex on that one. Country, making sure there's something in it. Home phone, you could do regex on that one. Extension, just making sure there's something in it. Notes, same thing. Post or reports to, has to be selected one. Password. So if you wanted to use existing fields in here to validate, what I would suggest is you could do a validation for postal code, for sure. Home phone number, those two. And then you've just got to add 5 new fields of your own choice and add validation. And I would suggest, since we're going over regex this week, doing some type of regex validation. Maybe email address or website. Website would be a good one. Phone number, whatever you want to put in there. 5 other whatever. It doesn't have to be all regex, by the way, just as long as I want maybe throw in a couple regex and maybe 3, just make sure there's something in there type fields into the existing example. And so this link here just goes over that in more detail. This is a source file to start with, and then just adding your own fields and for validation, and really using regex, and again, phone number, email, social security, whatever it is you want to put in there. So 5 new fields of your choosing. Make sense? Questiones?